Hello, I'm David Reid. I'm your course advisor here at Point Blank Music School. I'm joined this week by Mr. Ben Bristow, who's our head DJ tutor. Welcome to Friday Forum Live. Hi, welcome along. It's Friday, it's 1 o'clock here in London. It's very hot in this studio. Welcome to Friday Forum Live. As usual, tune into the YouTube channel and fill in the comments box below and let us know where you're watching from. It's always really nice to hear where you are and where you're watching from. As I mentioned in the intro, this week I'm joined by Ben Bristow, aka Mr. Bristow.
Hello.
Who's our head DJ tutor. He teaches the DJ courses here at the college. He also teaches one of the DJ courses that we do online. So this week we've taken a sort of slightly different tack with Friday Forum, and we're going to let Ben loose on some of the new Pioneer gear that we've got in the DJ studio here, specifically the DJM2000, which is this beast of a mixer that's sitting in front of me at the moment. There you go, there's the close-up. So yeah, Ben's going to get let loose on the decks in a little while and show you some of the kind of tricks and techniques that you can do on the DJM2000. If you've got any DJ related questions, obviously we'd love to hear about them. You may recall the last couple of Friday forums that we've done, I've mentioned that we're running a promotion throughout August on DJ courses. So here it is on the blog, August offer, half price online DJ courses. So that offer runs until the end of this month, and there's a Serato DJ course, there's also an Ableton Live DJ course. Both of those at the moment half price for a limited period only. Get them while they're hot, while stocks last. You can find all the details as always on the website. Ben actually teaches the Serato course, so if you've got any questions about that course and the kind of content that we cover, then as always, just type them into the comments box and we'll do our best to answer them as we go through today. One other thing to tell you about, Ben is going to be modelling some Pioneer HD 500 headphones during this little mix session, and we're giving a pair away, so you can get yourself a pair of these Pioneer headphones exactly like the ones that Ben's wearing. All you need to do is subscribe to the YouTube channel, simple as that. If you're already subscribed, which I imagine quite a few of you are, you're still in with a chance of winning them. So basically anyone who's subscribed to the channel will put you in a prize draw and you can win a rather lovely pair of Pioneer headphones. What else do I need to tell you about? Course is coming up. August the 20th is our next enrolment date, which is not that far away now. So if you're looking to get involved and take some classes at Point Blank, then that's the next date you can join us. As usual, if you've got questions about any of those classes, fire them away on the comments box. Contact us via the website. Give us a call. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to hear what you're up to with your music and what the sort of specific skills that you want to focus on are, and we'll obviously do our best to try and find the most appropriate course for you. In particular, I should also mention the degree courses. I know I've mentioned this before, so if you've watched Friday Forum before, you'll have heard me talk about this before, but in September, for the first time, we're launching a degree level course. So there are limited places available on that, and it only enrolls once a year. So if you're planning to take a degree with Point Blank, you need to speak to us sooner rather than later. Those courses start September the 24th, which again is not that far away. So again, if you've got questions or you want us to send you the application forms, get in touch. Easiest way to do that is via the website, but however you do it, we'd love to hear from you. I'll mention again, actually, on the website there is actually a live chat function, which I will show you right now, just so you know how to get in touch, and then we'll hand over to Ben. So yeah, just jumping on the website, which, as you should know, is pointblankonline.net. As you can see up here, hopefully, where my cursor is, 9 days left until the next available course. Should you want to get in touch with us, there's lots of different ways you can do that, as you can see on the right here. So you can send us an email using this button here. Phone numbers are all here, and then this button, chat live with the course advisor. Click on that and you can just chat live with Charlie, John, or one of the other guys on the course advice team, and they'll be happy to answer your questions. So obviously watch this for now, and then if you've got any questions at the end and we haven't had time to tackle them during the Friday forum, hit us up on the website and we'll do our best to help you. So Ben, before we kind of kick off and sort of let you loose, could you give people a kind of quick sort of overview of what they cover on the Serato DJ course?
Yeah, well, it's a 4-week course. It's kind of digital DJ skills with Serato Scratch Live. So, I mean, it's kind of aimed at people, well, both people who are new to Scratch Live and those who've used it, because it kind of follows a path. So we cover stuff like digital effects, you know, creating your own bespoke effects in there, you know, mixing, general sort of beat matching tips and tricks and that sort of thing. All the features of Scratch Live, basically, so the sample players, even the video element of it, where you can sync video with audio clips.
And you could do it as a beginner, you think?
Yeah, definitely, yeah, because it's I mean, there's a whole kind of, there's a lot of content about how to set it up.
Yeah.
You know, if you're new to it, where everything is, what all the features are, up to kind of advanced, you know, a cappella mixing using the effects within the software and stuff. Okay. So yeah.
And each week you upload your mix, and people can, well, you would specifically kind of check it out and give people tips and pointers on their mixing.
Yeah. So every week there's a different assignment, which the learner submits an assignment to me. Then I'll review it and do a bespoke, you know, direct video response on their sort of either a mix or some scratching skills or whatever the particular assignment is. And also, obviously, there's every week there's a live hour-long broadcast where it's kind of similar to this, where people can type questions in live and ask stuff. So that's been working really well with previous courses. So,
great. Yeah,
so I can kind of demonstrate stuff that you're asking about when you're on the course.
Yeah. Well, as Ben said, you know, we'll try and do some of that today as well. So, do you want to kind of take up your position, and we'll sort of let Ben guide you through some of this Pioneer gear. But if you've got any questions specifically about the Serato course or DJ courses in generally, you know, I'll be manning the comments now. So let us know, and we'll do our best to answer your questions. But for now, I'll hand you over to Ben.
Thanks. So, just to give you a bit of an overview, this is the DJM2000 mixer. We've got two SDJ-2000s here. It's a very powerful mixer. It's kind of, there aren't many others like it really, because it's basically got 3 different effects units. So you've got the main kind of beat effects unit up here, which are controlled with the beat buttons here. You've also got sort of insert effects, or if you've got a DJM-900, you might know those as colour effects. So they're kind of 6 different effects that you can implement, kind of auxiliary effects, which you can put on each channel separately. Plus, the kind of real jewel in the crown, as they say, is this feature here, which is the kind of touch screen element. So you've got basically a 9-band EQ crossfader, which allows you to split, you know, tunes into 9 separate frequency ranges and kind of blend across between tracks using these sliders. You've also got a remix section, which has got kind of oscillators, and you can touch the screen and add kind of layers of sound and stuff over the top of tunes. And it's also got MIDI functionality. We're not going to be covering that today, but you can link it and, you know, get it to trigger samples from whatever sort of software application you're using. But this crossfader thing is what I was going to give you a little demo on, and then I'll give you a couple of examples of things you can do with the colour effects or the insert effects, and 1 or 2 things with this as well. So what I'm going to do is basically what you have to do when you're making using this digital crossfader. You have to make sure it's assigned to the 2 channels you're wanting to affect. Otherwise, it's not going to work. Same as a crossfader, you need to assign it. So you can see here at the top, you've got 2 different channel selections. So I want it on channel 2 and channel 3, because I'm using channel 2 on the left and channel 3 on the right. One thing you have to be careful of is making sure that when you turn it on, these sliders are kind of over to the track that you're playing currently, because it can suddenly cut out tune if these sliders are all sort of halfway over to the other tune. If I'm playing a track, if I activate it at this point here, it will suddenly kind of cut things out. So you've got to be a little bit careful about making sure your sliders are all the way over to the main track. Then you can turn it on, which means you can put the crossfader in the middle, and the sound will be only playing the one from the sort of right deck. So just to be aware of that, because we don't want things cutting out right in the middle of our set when it's all kicking off, and then suddenly the tune goes completely silent. I'm sure some of you might have experienced that, and the embarrassment is not fun, I can tell you. So what I'm going to do is just play this tune here. This tune I'm going to bring in using the EQs, kind of splitting across from one to the other, so you can sort of see how it works basically. So I'll start with this track. So you can hear there, it kind of quite cleanly, splits the EQ bands. So you can basically blend over, or you've also got these arrows on the left and the right hand side. So if you kind of run your finger down one side, all the sliders will jump over. So you can use it like a normal crossfader just by literally running your finger down like this. But it's obviously a lot more versatile than when you've only got 3 EQs. Some mixers obviously only have 2. So because it's got 7 different frequency ranges, you can really quite cleanly kind of isolate elements of a track. So that's the kind of, you know, next level EQing, if you like. Not many mixers are going to have that kind of. Some might have a touch screen, but I've yet to see one that does the same sort of EQ split like that.
You got time for a quick question, Ben?
Yep.
Gary Mark Harper got in touch and said, what would be a good entry level set of decks and mixer for a total beginner? I'm sure you get asked that all the time, don't you?
Yeah, quite often. I mean, you know, it is kind of, there's so many different options. You could go with the Pioneer sort of DJM-2000 and SDJ-2000s. They're kind of quite small, compact little setup. It's got a mixer with some basic effects on it. Or if you want to go down the controller route, you might find there's a DDJ-S1 or a DDJ-T1, which is Pioneer as well, which is kind of the little 350s joined together basically in one controller. So the S1 is for Serato or Itch, and the T1 is specifically for Tractor. Okay. So that would be that's a little bit cheaper than buying the 350s and the mixer together, I think. So yeah, that would be an option.
So there you go. I'll just check and see if we've got any other questions. Lee Pickett said, how can you make a good mix from the ending of one track and mix it into a breakdown from the new track?
Well, I mean, with this mixer, there's a lot of things you can do in terms of these colour effects. So I might, if I'm trying to get rid of a track and going into a breakdown of another track, for example, if I select high pass filter here, so HPF, it means this dial will act, basically I can cut all the frequencies, the low frequencies, and just the highs will remain. So you could have it so that the tune's playing like this, you've mixed your other tune in, which is going to go into a breakdown, and then you literally bring this dial up. So you're kind of left with just literally a hi-hat kind of pattern, and then that would, you know, flow into your breakdown. That would be one way of doing it.
Yeah, hopefully that answers your question. I think it was Lee, wasn't it, I think?
I've got one other way of doing it if you want.
Yeah, go on. Yeah. Another
so another way, I use echo quite a lot. So if I've got a tune and I check and it's about to go into a breakdown, I haven't necessarily planned the mix that well, I might apply some echo to the end of the tune that's coming out of the mix so that it kind of gels into the breakdown of the next one. So to do that on here, what I would do is kind of basically make sure the mixer knows the tempo. So tap the tempo in. Select echo and then select the channel that I'm using, so channel 3. Now you could either kind of stop it and press echo at the same time, so that kind of would tail into your breakdown. Or the other way you could do it, if you wanted a bit more of a, you know, dramatic ending, you could spin it back or kind of grab the platter. So kind of, yeah. Echo on the end of something generally makes it kind of fade out nicely because the echo's like that. Yeah. There
you go, Lee. There's 3 different options for you there. 3 for the price of 1.
Yeah. So one of the other things I was going to show you guys was one of the cool things you can do with this is these effects. Basically, you've got one that is noise, so it actually generates white noise over each channel. So you can have, if I've got the fader down, as soon as I start bringing it up, there doesn't have to be any CDs playing. It's actually generating white noise, and the high, it's like a filter suite you might find in a, you know, in a track. So you can kind of create build-ups basically over tunes just with, you know, with just that and another tune. So if this tune were playing on the right, fun, you just got to be careful not to activate the effect without having checked whether these are up, because you might, as soon as you turn that on, you might end up with loads of different white noise, one coming from each channel, which obviously you don't want that unless you're planning to use it properly. So one cool trick you can do with that is to implement that with some echo over it, and you can almost make it sound like scratching. Well, firstly, without the echo, if I'm using the crossfader on the noise, I can kind of make it sound a little bit like I'm scratching over it. Obviously we're dealing with different pitches effectively. You can make it higher or lower pitch, and if you use the crossfader you can I'm just changing the kind of pitch by rotating the dial and chopping the fader up. So what you can also do is add a bit of echo over that. So if I do that so that it's in time with the beat, it means the echo of that noise will kind of fade out in time with the beat underneath. So go back to the beginning a sec. So I'm going to tap the tempo in of the beat. Then I'm going to select echo and put it on the crossfader. So that means when I shut the fader, the echo of the noise still fades out rather than being cut out, sort of dry. So if I assign the effect to crossfader A, I'm going to put it on like a 3/4, so you get like a kind of triplet pattern. And then basically when I turn the effect on, now the scratching or the noise has echo applied to it. So you can kind of cool technique, especially over stuff like minimal and deep house, where you might it won't sound good to do traditional scratching, if you like. That's kind of, it sounds like an effect that's in the tune basically, because it's got echo over it. It kind of layers into the tune nicely. So yeah, it's quite a cool little thing to be able to combine the effects like that, or indeed just without the echo, just doing it as a kind of build-up effect. Just watch out for having the faders or the dials up if you don't need it. Yeah.
Let's have a look. What's actually the difference between Denon and Pioneer decks?
Well, I mean, Pioneer pretty much industry standard. It's rare that you'll find Denon decks in most venues. I mean, from my experience, I've probably seen them maybe once in the whole time I've been DJing in like 13 years. So I've not used Denon that extensively. I've just always kind of used Pioneer, but I mean, I'm sure they're pretty similar. I'm sure you can still, the main thing's if you've got vinyl mode, so you can actually manipulate the sound as if it were vinyl. Yeah. I'm pretty sure they've got that. Generally, most CD decks these days are going to have some sort of, hot cues, some sort of platter, a speed adjustment, and various other, little features. But yeah, I personally prefer Pioneer just because it's the standard that you're going to find.
Yeah, it's what you'll find in most clubs.
Yeah.
Wolf Pyro Man, who I know has watched before. Hello, how you doing? Says tips for mid and high EQ techniques, how to mix it and stop them from clashing but not kill the high part of the mix. Yeah,
well, I mean, you have got to be careful. I mean, it is kind of dependent on the two tunes you're using. I always say this to students, it is a kind of, it's never going to be exactly the same thing you do with the EQs every time you mix.
Yeah.
Obviously you might have the ability to change your EQs from isolator to non-isolator. So on this mixer you can have it either or. So if you've got it on isolator, that means like the highs, if you turn them all the way down, will be completely cut out. So they're actually, if you had all three EQs down, you hear nothing at all, because it's on an isolator EQ. If I start bringing this up, you'll hear it kind of bringing in the lows, then the mids. So obviously, if you've got it like that, that might be a severer kind of setting, because when you cut the highs, it will literally cut everything. Whereas if you've got it on the other setting, kind of non-isolator if you like, just kind of the volume of everything is reduced but not completely cut out. As for mixing, in terms of, if you've got two tunes where you've got clashing high frequencies, it depends on what the sounds are really, but like if one's a vocal, generally the human ear is more likely to pick out the vocal in a tune, so you might want to roll off a little bit of the highs of the other track to give the vocal a bit more room to breathe. Generally it's always better to take away volume from the one you don't want to hear as much of, rather than kind of boosting your vocal up and leaving the other one at sort of the default setting, because then you're just going to be adding more volume to the problem. If it's really bad, then you might decide, well, I might mix out of this tune at another point because there just is too much high energy going on in that area, sort of thing. Or quick little chops. You can sometimes, rather than just fading between things, chop the bit of one vocal in, or whatever it is, and then switch over. So you're kind of doing it on beats rather than sort of blending. Hopefully that's helped. I mean, it's EQing is such a subjective thing, really.
Because it totally depends what it is you're playing.
Yeah, every time you play two different tunes, there might be separate issues and different clashes. And one thing I'd say is obviously don't mix vocals over other vocals, because that's no amount of EQing is going to make that sound good. Because you can have two people singing over each other. It's never going to work, really.
Someone else was asking, I think when you were doing that kind of white noise effect with the crossfade, was saying, can you sidechain those noises?
Well, there is sidechaining. You've got sidechaining on here, which means you can basically, if a tune's playing, you can get it to kind of create the tone over the top of itself. So the beats from that tune are adding layers, kind of using these oscillators. You can also get a different tune to sidechain over the top of another tune. I don't think you can use these for sidechaining, no. I would have to read the manual on that one, but as far as I know, I don't think you can, no. Because you've got the options here to well, maybe you could actually, because you've got the sidechain option to use the channel. I'll have to check back on that one, I'm afraid.
Okay, a couple of other questions. I'm going to answer this one on your behalf. Charlie Turvey said, do you have different specialists for different genres? Ben's obviously a great DJ, but he might not be as effective at trying to teach me how to mix drum and bass. If you've seen him mix drum and bass, you probably wouldn't ask that question. But yeah, I mean, Ben,
I started learning to mix with drum and bass, so I've used that more than any other genre, to be honest. But
I mean, I've worked with you for quite a number of years now, and I know that pretty much any genre of music that you throw at Ben, he'll be able to cope with. And teaching the classes here in London, we get people who are into all kinds of stuff. And the thing I always say to people is, at a basic level, it doesn't matter whether you're mixing, minimal techno or drum and bass. The core mix technique is the same.
Yeah, right? I'd say. I mean, at the moment, I've got several students who are into dubstep and drum and bass. I'll show you techniques that are sometimes, have come from a certain genre but can be applied to other genres.
Well, that's a good. I mean, you just did that just now, because you were looking at, using effectively a scratch technique with an effect on a type of music that's not normally associated with scratching.
But yeah, we do stuff that may be more applicable to drum and bass, like cut mixing, so where you're chopping from one tune to another and using one as a fill for the other one. Doing stuff like mixing acapellas, like hip-hop acapellas over drum and bass beats. It's not really genre specific, the DJ course. We'll have people in one class who are into minimal, some are into hip-hop, some are into...
Charlie's just replied. He kind of got the humour, so that's good.
So yeah, do come along if you're into drum and bass, because I love drum and bass, so no worries there.
Yeah, definitely. Drum and bass, absolutely welcome, along with pretty much everything else you can think of as well. Lee, who sent us a question earlier, was saying, what Pioneer decks give you the option to use a memory stick? I think a lot of them do now, don't they?
All of the newer generation do. So, the older kind of, the standard used to be the SDJ-2000s, which don't take USB. But the USB capability ones are the SDJ-2000s, the SDJ-900s, the SDJ-850s, the 400s and the 350s. So any of the ones that have come out in the last couple of years, basically, will take USB. These SDJ-2000s can read DVDs as well, so you can put a data DVD in there and it will read. So that's good. And obviously they link together, so you've either got a LAN cable connecting from one deck to the other, or in this mixer you can connect LAN cables into the mixer, which means you can have a USB key in one of them, press link on the other one, and you can read 2 tunes off the same key, you know, play from just one key.
That's pretty smart, isn't it?
Yeah, very useful, yeah.
Is that what you're doing now? Because you've
Yeah,
got a key
yeah.
So you've got a key
Well,
plug.
I've got CDs in there and USB key in one of them, so that means I can read. If I switch to disc, it will go to what the the tunes on the CD. You press USB on the one with the key in it, and then link on the other one, and it will read the tunes off that key on this deck.
Nice.
Mm.
One other question, and then I'll let you get back on and do some practical stuff.
Yeah.
Susa Sam was saying this isn't completely for beginners, I guess, but any tips on blending more than 2 songs together with EQs and gains and things? I mean, I know that's something you do on the advanced course.
Yeah, on the advanced course we do 3 deck mixing or more, using more than 2 sound sources. It depends. Sometimes I've done it where I've got the separate parts of a track. So if you've made your own productions, or indeed you've found remix stems from anywhere, you can have like the kick drum from a track on one deck, the bass line from the same track on another deck. So then you've got the separate elements which are all designed to play at the same time anyway. Yeah. So then you can just put all your speeds at 0 and do a kind of almost like using Ableton but using CD decks. Yeah. Other times when I've done it, I kind of think, right, because it can get a bit clashy if you've got 3 full tracks going with different melodies and bass lines and everything. So I might use like one, literally just an instrumental drum loop, then maybe a tune with melody and stuff in it, then an a cappella over the top of that. Yeah. So I've got a beat that I can cut in over the top of my main tune and a vocal on a separate channel. So a lot of it's to do with, your sound selection, your source material in the first place. Yeah, picking the right tracks. Obviously 3 full tunes with vocals at the same time. You can EQ stuff, but it wouldn't sound necessarily as good as sort of picking more suitable material that would work well together. We've done quite a few questions. So. Yeah. Well, the other little trick I was going to show you was there's a technique called delaying, which is where you're using 2 copies of the same tune to go between, from one to the other. One's playing a delayed behind the other one, basically. So like if it's a beat behind, you can alternate between them, so you get a kind of double up effect. You can do the same thing on the mixer, but you could also combine the 2 and use the mixer effect in conjunction with the 2 tracks, just to kind of create a live mashup, really. So just to give you an example of how the mixer works, if I wanted to do it with the mixer, basically I've got the level depth dial here, which allows me to go between the original kind of signal and the effect only, so I can alternate between the tune and the delay. So if I do that at regular intervals, it will kind of double up certain beats. So I'm going to play the tune, then I'm going to tap the tempo in so that the mixer knows how fast it is, set it to a 1/1, and then I can alternate with this. So let's play this. London. So that you can see it's basically doubling up, because if I've got it on a 1-beat delay, it means you hear the signal a beat later than you would normally. So if you alternate between the original signal and the delayed one, you hear both of them. Obviously, instead of hearing beat 2 of that, you'd hear beat 1 repeated. So what you can do, if you use 2 copies of the same tune, which I've got here, you can do the delay between the 2 tracks, then have a delay on the tune that's already delayed, so you kind of get a triple, like 3 beats in a row, the same basically. So I'm going to start these running at the same time, and then just show you that they're 1 beat apart, and then apply the effect to this one. So the head, so every time I move over, you'll hear the same beat again. So now, if I put it on the delayed track, which is a beat delay, so basically you're getting the original, the delay, and then a delay of it. So I can do it on the snares, or the kick. Let's wait for the vocal bit. London City, London, the place for me. London, lovely city, you can Or I could change it so that this is quicker, so now you get like a 1 and a 1.5 delay. So, yeah, so that's one little thing you could play around with. Either if you couldn't get 2 copies of the same track, you can just literally have delay on and kind of alternate between the original and the delay. Or you can, we used to have a mixer where there was 4 different 2 effects units, so you could do a 4-part delay where you're basically quadrupling the beat. One of the other cool functions on here is slip roll. So that's basically, well, you've got roll, which is, it basically records a little bit of the sound and repeats it instead of the track that's playing. So it's almost like a little sampler, and you can change the length of the roll. Whereas slip roll kind of changes, when you change the value here, it rolls the current part of the track. So you get quite a cool effect. Let's put it on this one. So again, tap the tempo in. Assign it to channel 3. Now if I put it on like a half beat roll, you'll get like a... So it kind of holds a little bit of the audio in. So if we did a 1 beat, so it's quite a cool little effect basically. You can even switch it to its own channel. So now the roll itself is on its own channel, it's separate from the track. It can go a little bit out of time though, so you've got to be a bit careful with that. But with slip roll, you can kind of keep changing this value here and it will kind of roll the bit that the tune is currently on rather than just holding the same bit of audio. I think it's a bit more busy kind of track. So if you time it right, you can kind of get a real glitchy kind of effect. A bit careful that it doesn't go off beat, but yeah, so that's a pretty cool little trick there.
Someone was asking about beat juggling, Ben.
Yeah.
Got a minute to maybe do a quick...
Well, beat juggling on CDJs, it's not ideal to be honest. Delaying, a lot of people sort of say, oh, beat juggling, and then they show you a delay thing, which delaying is just one element of beat juggling. It is, you can use that in a beat juggle, kind of just switching between them. But beat juggling is obviously where you're kind of, you've got a, well, I can see if I can find a right sample to use. You're basically manually rewinding, playing a tune, and then on the other deck you've got the same tune, and you get it back to the same start point. That's the basics. It's kind of, that's where looping started, before the days of these luxury CD decks with loops and cue points. Back in the old school days, you'd have to have 2 of the same record, a sticker marking your cue point visually so that you could see where it rewound to, and that's how people used to extend a loop. If they wanted to keep the dance floor going with a particular loop, they'd have to get 2 copies of the same tune, unless they wanted to use some reel-to-reel tape machine, and that wouldn't have been very easy. So I can give you a little example if I can find the sound I was going to use. So
there's all sorts of debate going on here as well about different bits of kits. Like someone's mentioned, would you recommend the CDJ 400s as a start point, moving from tractor? And
yeah, well the 400s were kind of the last. They're the first ones that had USB. They've got some cool effects actually. They've got 6 effects. Like they've got 3 that work if you're in vinyl mode. You can actually have a sample, and when you move it, it kind of chops it up. So it's like a scratch effect. Yeah. Then if you're in CDJ mode, the platter acts like a kind of bit like a touchscreen where it implements like a filter or things like that. So they're fairly good, yeah. As a scratch DJ, my preference is always going to be a larger platter, because for scratching they're a bit fiddly, because obviously the platter's like maybe 2/3 the size of this.
Yeah.
And they can't link together like the newer ones can, the 400s. I think they're not. You can't link them. Yeah. So like you couldn't retune. You'd have to have 2 different keys. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, they are. They've got a different pitch range that you can change. They've got loops. They've got they've got a hot loop function, which means you can re-trigger the loop on them.
Someone else was talking about Allen and Heath mixers as well, which is
I mean, there's so many different ones, isn't there? They're pretty good. A lot of
they are
like,
good, aren't they? I mean, they're good.
Yeah, a lot of sort of house DJs and more blending and mixing kind of DJs like Allen and Heath mixers. They've got good filters on them and stuff. I've been on several where the crossfader curve adjustment isn't quite sharp enough for me though, which is my kind of priority because it always fades slightly. But quite a lot of the Allen Heath ones have got 4 EQs as well. So you've got low, mid, and high. So you've got more capabilities with EQing. So in terms of beat juggling, what I've got here, I've got basically a little loop at the same speed. The cue point is kind of where the start of the bar is. So I've got to know how many rotations it makes in order to get it back to the same point. Although with CDJs you could just press Q. I could just blatantly cheat and go Q, Q, which obviously is a bit easy. So that if you're doing it manually, the other annoying thing with CDJs is it can snap back to the cue point. So you can pull this, if you're playing it and you put it back slightly, it locks to the auto cue point, which is not what you want, obviously. So if you wanted to deactivate auto cue, turn this off, hold it down for 2 seconds, the time auto cue thing, and it's not going to keep doing that snapping thing. So yeah, basically I'll be playing this one on the right, then a bar later dropping the one on the left, and then rewinding the one on the right. So, it's on this. That's the general gist.
That's
but
your beat juggle.
I went a little bit wrong there, but there you go. But yeah, the vinyl, obviously, I'm more used to the vinyl kind of rotating, which gives you that kind of physical resistance. So, but you can, pretty much some things you can do on these that you could not possibly do on vinyl. Other things like scratching might be,
Is there some tutorials in the course that have got you beat juggling on vinyl?
In the Serato course, definitely.
So if you want to see a proper kind of beat juggling tutorial, that's a good place to go. If you want to see Ben in action for real, not teaching but actually DJing, you're playing in Ibiza this month.
Yeah, Space on the 28th of August with my friend Brian Beeswax. We're doing a 6-hour set, I think, so that's some scratching and stuff going on there.
If you're out in Ibiza this summer and you want to see Ben in action, that'd be a good place to catch him.
Or failing that, a road trip up the road near Old Street on the last Saturday in August, so that's a bit more easy to get to, a bit cheaper. Yeah.
Unless you live in Ibiza.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So yeah, we've got about another. Well, actually, we're pretty much there, aren't we? How are we doing for time?
Yeah.
We're pretty much there, I think.
If anyone's got some scratching.
Yeah. All right. Do you want to do a scratch outro?
I could do a scratch outro. Yeah, unless there's any more questions.
I haven't got anything at the moment. If you've got any last-minute questions, get them over to us now. Otherwise, we'll leave Ben to do a sort of scratch outro.
The Serato course is a free sample course as well.
Nick's just mentioned there's a free sample of the Serato course on the website as well. I'll show you where that is briefly in case you're new to us.
There's quite a few tutorials on the YouTube page that you can watch, I think.
Yeah, that's another good place to check out some of the free material from the courses is the YouTube channel. But if you're on the website, pointblankonline.net, someone was asking earlier on where the dubstep course is, so I'll show you that briefly. If you go into, actually that's another of the free ones. So if you want to get samples of any of the things we've talked about today, head to this tab here which says free course samples, and you'll need to be registered. If you're not, registration is free. But then once you're in there, there's a whole bunch of courses in here that you can just try for free. The only thing that you don't get, obviously, is the interaction with the tutor. So if you take the Serato course for real, then obviously you get to interact with Ben every week. He'll be checking out your mixes or your tunes and giving you some feedback On the free courses, you just get some examples of some of the course material to try out for free, hence the name free course samples. But yeah, the dubstep course is right here. I can't remember your name, but you were asking about it earlier on. It's right there, you can try it for free. The Serato course, if I remember rightly, is at the bottom. Yeah, there it is, DJ Skills Serato. So again, if you want to check out some free samples from Ben's course, dive onto the free course samples and take a look. So yeah, I'll do a quick kind of sign off now. You know, thanks everyone for tuning in again today. Always nice to have you with us. If you've got any questions at all, pointblankonline.net, send us an email. You can chat live with the course advisor, as I was talking about earlier on. So we'll be back next week with another tutorial, and also to answer any more questions that you might have. But for now, I'll hand you over to Mr. Bristow, and he'll scratch you into oblivion. But yeah, thanks again for watching Friday Forum Live.
Wow.